Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are looking at something truly monumental. We are unpacking the undisputed cinematic event of 2026, Christopher Nolan's massively anticipated epic adaptation of Homer's ancient Greek myth, the Odyssey. I mean, think about it. We've seen Nolan tackle vigilante superheroes, mind-bending dreams, deep space, and even the atomic bomb. But bringing a 3,000-year-old foundational text to the big screen, that is an entirely new frontier for him. And the way he actually pulls it off is just nothing short of fascinating.
Okay, let's dive into this. The critical reception for this film has been, frankly, absolutely ecstatic. Reviewers are out there calling it a breathtaking epic, boldly proclaiming that Nolan has officially gone God tier. And honestly, they aren't wrong. This isn't just your standard movie, it's a massive, awe-inspiring experience. We've got cinephiles literally crossing oceans right now just to watch it on the absolute perfect IMAX screen. It's just a colossal achievement, tackling ancient monsters and this incredibly complex moral metamorphosis on a scale we simply haven't ever witnessed before in modern cinema.
But you kind of have to ask, why the Odyssey? Why did the director, who just gave us the definitive historical biopic of the 21st century, suddenly pivot so hard to sword and sandals mythology? Well, Nolan himself actually viewed this as a thrilling post-Oppenheimer opportunity. You see, Homer's poem underpins almost every single modern story we tell, but Nolan realized something crazy. A grounded, massive-budget, throw-everything-at-the-screen adaptation of it had, ironically, never truly been done. It was basically a massive blank canvas just hiding in plain sight.
So how exactly does a risky 3-hour ancient Greek epic actually get the green light in today's Hollywood? The answer really comes down to one staggering number: $1 billion. The completely unexpected, monumental box office success of Oppenheimer gave Nolan unparalleled freedom. It bought him the incredible capital, and more importantly, the total studio trust needed to take a massive creative swing. Pitching a dark, wildly expensive ancient Greek epic isn't exactly a safe bet on paper, but having that billion-dollar blank check allowed him to give audiences an experience they've literally never had before.
And that brings us to a signature element of Nolan's filmmaking, his incredibly grounded approach. How exactly do you take a director who is famously obsessed with practical realism and drop him into a world completely populated by supernatural gods, ancient magic, and mythical creatures? Well, the brilliant part is he didn't just tote it in science fiction this time. Instead, he brought his rigorous, visceral logic directly to the supernatural. He pulled the myth down from the heavens and dragged it right into the dirt, the sweat, and the blood of the ancient world.
Now, what's really interesting about this detail is how he captured that massive scale. Nolan made literal history here. This is the very first blockbuster to be shot entirely on 1570 IMAX film cameras. He pushed the absolute, physical limits of analog technology to capture this mythic world. And when you combine this massive, ultra-high-resolution format with Hoyt van Hoytema's jaw-dropping cinematography, where they're capturing these incredibly intimate firelit scenes in the pitch dark, right alongside vast, lonely landscapes, without relying on those cliché blue cinematic ocean colors, you end up with a movie that makes antiquity feel unbelievably huge, yet terrifyingly real.
To really understand how he grounds this, you have to look at how he reimagines the supernatural elements. Nolan trades pure CGI for this haunting, tactile realism. Just imagine a Trojan horse so incredibly massive and terrifying that it actually rivals the Statue of Liberty in Planet of the Apes. And it's not just rolled on neat little wooden wheels up to the gates. No, Nolan stages it so this imposing, jagged wooden structure is literally dragged from the roaring surf that its victims, half hidden in the sand like Shelley's Ozymandias. It's wild. Then you have Bill Irwin delivering this mesmerizing, practically achieved, and deeply unsettling performance as the Cyclops Polyphemus, right alongside Samantha Morton, who is just absolutely spellbinding in her limited screen time as the witch Circe. It is incredibly visceral, breathtaking filmmaking.
But beyond the stunning visuals, we absolutely have to talk about the structure of the story itself. If you know Christopher Nolan's filmography, from Memento to Inception to Dunkirk, you know for a fact the man absolutely loves to play with time, memory, and perspective.
Which is exactly why his approach to this adaptation makes so much sense. Nolan actually called the Odyssey the original non-linear narrative, because Homer's epic poem doesn't just start neatly at the beginning. It starts in media res, right smack in the middle of things, jumping wildly back and forth through time and memory. It turns out a disjointed 3,000-year-old poem was the absolute perfect canvas for a director who built his entire legacy on time-bending, complex narratives. So, instead of just giving us the Trojan War right off the bat, Nolan throws us straight in at year 19.
We meet Odysseus, lost in this lotus-induced haze on Calypso's island, and his memory of home only returns to him in these agonizingly slow fragments. And meanwhile, we're suddenly cutting forward to year 20 in Ithaca, an island that has become an absolute powder keg of political tension. Nolan uses immense patience and delayed gratification here. He takes the audience through this fractured timeline so masterfully that when the third act finally arrives, it truly feels like a massive payoff that was 20 arduous years in the making.
Of course, an IMAX spectacle on this scale means absolutely nothing without the human element to anchor it, right? Beneath all the grand battles and the towering practical monsters, the Odyssey's actually a painfully intimate family drama. At its core, it's just about a man completely desperate to get back to his wife and son.
And to pull off that level of intimacy, Nolan assembled a generational ensemble, perfectly in tune with the film's heavy emotional tone. I mean, Matt Damon actually slimmed down to carry the immense emotional and physical weight of the movie as a deeply careworn, exhausted Odysseus. Then you have Anne Hathaway, who brilliantly anchors all that tension back in Ithaca as the resilient Penelope, fiercely fending off unruly suitors who are literally eating her estate into disrepair. Add in Tom Holland as a coming-of-age Telemachus, plus these incredible ethereal appearances by Zendaya as Athena and Charlize Theron as Calypso, and you get a cast that just breathes painful, glorious life into these ancient archetypes.
But what truly elevates this movie to a god-tier cinematic achievement isn't just the massive IMAX cameras or that star-studded cast we just talked about. It's the deeper thematic resonance. When audiences are walking out of the theater, they aren't just talking about the action sequences or the visual effects. They're talking about the soul of the film, the philosophical weight it leaves you carrying long after the credits roll.
So, the crucial point is that the Odyssey operates as a fascinating thematic companion piece to Oppenheimer. Think about it. On one side, you have J. Robert Oppenheimer, the atomic bomb and the unbearable, crushing guilt of the creator. And on the other side, you have Odysseus, the Trojan horse, and this deep, agonizing post-war disillusionment. The sacking of Troy in this film is treated with the exact same horrifying gravity as the atom bomb test. Odysseus feels this unending blood guilt for deceiving his own cousin Sinon, just to make the Trojan horse trick work. Both of these films are ultimately about men whose world-altering deeds become legendary, but who are internally destroyed by what they had to do to win.
Ultimately, critics recognize this adaptation as a profound exploration of PTSD, the generational pain and trauma of returning from a terrifying world-shattering event. The real struggle for Odysseus isn't just surviving the Cyclops or escaping the witches. The true ordeal is the invisible odyssey of anguish happening inside his own mind. It's the heartbreaking realization that while a soldier might physically arrive home, returning to their pre-war state emotionally or spiritually is a brutal battle that can take decades. And sadly for some, it never happens at all.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering question. Has Christopher Nolan redefined the cinematic epic for an entirely new generation? By stripping away the glossy sheen of pure CGI, shooting entirely on pristine 1570 IMAX, and treating a 3,000-year-old myth with the heavy psychological weight of a modern war drama, has he forever changed the sword and sandal genre? Honestly, it certainly feels like it. It's a stunning, breathtaking achievement and a profound reminder of why we go to the movies in the first place. I want you to think about that as you reflect on this explainer today, and I highly, highly recommend you experience this masterpiece for yourself. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep questioning the stories that shape our world.